Thanks for joining us on this remote panel conversation on distance working, which is almost a new reality imposed upon professionals across the world by the COVID-19 pandemic. So far, 52 African countries, we believe, have been affected by the coronavirus. About 13,600 cases on the continent, 2,358 persons estimated to have recovered. Meantime, 742 at least have died. Social distancing has been highly recommended, and people are increasingly staying away from crowded places. And unfortunately, work for most people is one of those crowded places. So most of us are now working from home. For some companies, they've had aspects of this before in their work. For example, I know someone who is involved in offshore oil exploration who tells me they usually do video conferences with their staff who are offshore. So I assume that a couple of businesses which have more or less done this before now, but now almost everyone is kind of forced. When did you, for example, or your company decide that working from home was the solution? Brian? Okay, Jacob.
Thank you very much. For us, actually, we had directive from our headquarters that we need to start making arrangements. But South Africa actually announced a 21-day lockdown. So we were a little bit forced. The timeline was rushed in our preparations for for remote working. And we had been working with video conferencing, but we never worked remotely the way we are forced to work right now. So it was an aspect of a government directive that we have to work remotely that forced us to actually now quickly implement the remote working technologies for our staff.
Brian, did you or your company agree upon this, and how did the decision come about?
Please, sorry, Mr. Bennett, I was off. I didn't get the question. Please take it over.
Did you as an individual decide to start working from home, or was it a decision taken by your company?
No, actually, we are not, we're just doing part of the work from home. At least the COVID-19 has not hit that much. We haven't recorded any case in our region as of now. So we're still managing to do some of the work at home and go out to the office and get some done.
Okay, Joybird, I imagine Douala is a different story. The cases are pretty high.
For us, it was not really a new way of working since I've always built our structures to work virtually so that in a way that we can be able to work from anywhere across the world. Because with the services that we provide, we are forced to work with clients from diverse countries. Actually, this is the third week that my staff stopped coming to work full-time. Everybody's working virtually because we even have our own inbuilt system that we use for virtual working. So it was just, the only thing that changed was that we stopped coming to the office and we just continued working, and we increased access to more tools that can enable us to share more documents and serve more clients faster. And since the thing that changed greatly was that clients stopped coming to the office and they were forced to also know how to send their tasks to us to do virtually. So we had more work in that direction to be able to teach our clients how to use these digital platforms to connect with us and have us do their jobs effectively.
Ebai, was the decision collective, and how was it received?
Well, I work at a structure that manages a lot of other structures. It had to be collective. It had to be first. We are a headquarters that represents over 15,000 congregations. So we had to react very fast because we had to also go into how do we guide our member churches and these congregations to get involved in the pandemic fight immediately. Because if we're slow, then the repercussion will be that our member churches will be slow, the congregations will be slow, and the population will be more vulnerable. So we immediately, the restrictions of the government came out. Our office had to go on working from home, except my department, which is where the problematic is, as we will discuss, because it becomes difficult for the radio to work from home and from certain structures, and our involvement with UNICEF and the partners that are in this fight.
Okay, tell me, what have been your main challenges by experimenting this?
Well, the challenges is that one main challenge is that ministers are not technologically advanced, because we do our work the whole week from the congregation. So basically, the average pastor does not have that IT knowledge of doing work by these technological means. Secondly, the congregations and themselves and our structures that we have do not have these structures in place. Very few do, those that are very sophisticated, which are just like about 5% in general. They do. And now also the people we work with, they are not people who are used to seeing you on screen. They want to see you face to face. The things we do touch human lives, and the humans prefer to have that direct contact. So the challenges are enormous, because among ourselves is you have, like Japhne was saying, you have to do it and then teach at the same time your colleagues how to do it. You have to work with your leadership and then also set in place the mechanism for them to use. You have to encourage them. You have to change, discuss with partners. With your organization, for example, with the CRTV, we had to discuss on changing, doing the church services the way they are. That's why CRTV had to go around now, broadcasting services that are exactly the way things are at this lockdown. Because you could not have a service with 2,000, 4,000 people in the service. It was not realistic. So we had to work with CRTV to come to this agreement. We have now, at this moment, also one advantage is that we're encouraging pastors to get some equipment that can help them in the future.
Brian, it is true you said that you guys are still doing this just partially. What are the challenges? I imagine internet access, regular electricity supply. What else?
Well, I think Brian is really struggling.
Yeah.
I think he's having a connection problem, really difficult from the Northwest.
Okay,
And,
Joybird, any challenges so far experimenting this with your staff?
Challenges so far, as I said earlier, I think we are one of the organizations that have been researching about the future of work in Africa for the past 3 years, so we anticipated this. But the challenges are from our clients. The truth is that we cannot make more money like we used to make in the past because it's slower. As an entrepreneur, it's slower. But like for example, you get to work with a client who does not know how to edit a document on Google Drive. That's a big challenge. So you need to take through that process. They don't know how to effectively use Zoom as we're doing, or use Google Hangout, or use Skype. And these are challenges that make work slow and effectiveness very difficult. And that's why awareness, as Ref was saying, is very important, that people start increasing their skill set in that direction. So you get to do double work. You get to try to serve the client with a solution, or you get to take time, about 2 hours, training the clients on how to use the platform before you start doing the job.
Well, talking about challenges, as you guys must have noticed, we've lost Brian.
Absolutely.
of doing this. The internet must be of good quality, and well, it is true that most of these devices use battery, and so they don't depend entirely on electricity. But if you go for days without electricity, then you start having worries about energy as well. If you guys notice, I am letting Jacob intervene later because he's actually the IT guy amongst us. Jacob, when you hear these challenges, I assume that within your institution, you've come across a few as well.
Actually, when you talk about challenges, it's quite hectic. Because first of all, within an institution, I work for a public sector institution. And when you're asking people to work remotely, it means you have to change, you have to do some business process reengineering to make them see that some functions that they are used to doing in the office can be done remotely. We still work with the memos. People need to sign. So you need to tell people that an email should be taken as official communication, and that is a problem. You tell people that you need to adopt online signature platforms, and they are not sure because they believe signing is putting pen to paper. So there's an aspect of you identify your processes and you do reengineering to see how you can set them on online. The other thing is performance evaluation. When people are used to clocking in and coming into the office, how do you measure performance that they're actually working? So it means that as an institution, you must do performance-based management such that you measure people on the work they do, whether they are in the office or outside the office. Because now someone will say, but I don't know, my staff is not here, I don't know whether they're working. What we are saying is, assign them a task, assign them deadlines, and that is the way we measure the evaluation. You know, in public sector, we are used to coming in, hanging our coats, then leaving the office. But now this is offering an opportunity for people actually to adopt a new style of management, which is performance-based. The other thing is connectivity. And it becomes quite challenging to assess connectivity of all your staff because they're supposed to work from home. You don't know the kind of internet connectivity they have. So sometimes what we did was you buy them airtime so that they can convert into data for their respective mobile service provider. And then you hope that they will understand how to tether into and use their mobile phones as a Wi-Fi hotspot. So that brings in an aspect of training. You have to train your staff. So I was forced to train staff, I think 3 days before the lockdown. So I had to take staff through the whole spectrum of technologies because you have to explain to them how to base yourself with the person you'd consider the least technically qualified in the team. And you program your training like that. So you get to a point where you have to take your time. Simple things that you take for granted, like tethering, Wi-Fi hotspot, you have to train them. Accessing the internet, you have to train them. Accessing Zoom, accessing Teams, accessing Google, sharing files. So training was was a thing that had to be through the whole spectrum for everyone. Then as IT, how do we provide remote support? When someone says, I cannot connect, how do I provide? So you start thinking of, okay, maybe we can install remote support tools like TeamViewer on the laptops. Or it gets to a point where you tell someone, let's video call on WhatsApp, and then the video showing me your screen. Then I walk through as I see your screen. So there are a lot of challenges, and it's all about, you have to start with business process engineering. You have to change the way you work for you to be successful. And then once you change the way you work, then IT just becomes a supporting mechanism, and we offer training, and then we offer equipment. You have to offer your staff equipment, because if you don't have equipment, how are they going to work? So there are quite a number of factors, but mindset is the most important one.
Well, I must say it is challenging for workers, for example, being at home to decide at what time they stop being, I don't know, a mother or a father, or just taking care of their homes, to devoting time to work. It takes a lot of discipline, because at the office, you're actually sitting there and you're expected to clock in the hours, like you said, from maybe 7 to, I don't know, 4, or maybe 7 to 5 or 6 in the evening. But at home, that too is a challenge which requires a discipline, like you mentioned. I want us to talk, he started mentioning some of them, but I also want us to look at what we consider to be the key success factors. You know, what is necessary for working from home for distance work or for remote work to actually be efficient? What do you feel must be done?
Well, I can only thank you for bringing Jacob to the platform because I was listening very keenly to him.
Yeah.
He has outlined exactly the planning even before you decide to choose how to work remotely from home. The one thing I always like to remember is that our context is also a little bit analog. Let's recognize that we are a country with a lot of mobile phone users, but we are not an IT country. Germany trains a lot of young people, so he knows that I know that even at that level, sometimes you are surprised that the people who come from university have such little basic knowledge of their own phones. We have to recognize that first. Secondly, we have to recognize that people also go to work here as a sign of escape. As a sign of escape, people actually don't want to be at home because you shut down schools and you bring all our children home. Being home all day is like a constant being in a constant problem because you must listen to the children all day, solve problems at home all day. You are like constantly at home. So work is also a way of leaving your home, and without leaving your home, you go back to being a kind of I don't know how to term it. I've also in a context like our own, shopping is not online. Things we don't have. Most of our population cannot afford big deep freezers. They cannot afford preservative formats. So in Cameroon, for example, I like to say that in Cameroon, particularly for my own context, to go into remote working, there are a lot of factors that must be taken. Your health while staying at home, the ability to store food, the ability to move for that food within your quartier or quarter, the ability for your low-paid staff to survive, because you are talking to us who are of a certain level of society. But my staff at the radio, I worry more about them because even they having to take that taxi to come to the radio, they expose themselves every day. But they must come. At least one or two must come. And then when they come to the radio, they expose me because I have to go look around if there's a problem. So you see, what we have to put into understanding is that here there cannot be a clear-cut format of planning how to work remotely. Each institution would have to adapt based on the realities.
Their local realities, actually.
Yeah.
Joybert, do you have any success factors you feel we should be paying attention to in order to be efficient, if you can, in order to achieve results?
Yeah, it's because working from home takes a lot of discipline and mindset, as Jacob said. And since the whole pandemic started, we have run over 20-something virtual trainings like this, and we're working over 8 organizations just leading their team on how to do this. And we just developed a simple playbook where we recommend to all organizations to do and talk to their staff. And most importantly, these things are tailored, like Rev said, because it depends on the organization structure, how much they are willing to invest to. Like Jacob said, giving airtime, it means there should be there's a new budget head to invest in that direction. So it all depends on the structures of the organization. But first, we emphasize on the skill set. If your staff does not have the skill set to be able to leverage on the various platforms to collaborate, what we call virtual team collaboration, it's going to be difficult. That's the first step that we look at. And also, we also look at helping the staff to identify the needs or what they need to focus on each day. If each staff does not have a priority task that they are working on each day, it's going to be difficult. The boss will be expecting something at a particular time where the employee will be late. And also, we are recommending what is called chunking hours. Because when you're at home and you are not very disciplined, you leave your day to chance. But we recommend that staff to chunk their hours. Okay, from 8, you normally leave your house on 8. So do that same in the house. From 8 to about 11:30, chunk that hours and focus on key tasks and do that. From 11:30 to 1:30 could be for family time, watch over the kids, do some basic things, and then go back to chunk about 2 or 3 hours again, because the aim is to be productive. But we were also advising organization leaders to note that their staff cannot deliver 100% as they do in the office. So we need more of leaders now and not managers, because you need to have empathy to understand that they are at home, they have kids, they have family, and maybe not all of them have working spaces. So it is now that some staffs are investing to buy a small table. One of our clients just had to give 15,000 francs each to 3 staff to go and buy a small table to put in their house to work, because they did not have. But he was emphasizing that, no, you need to be effective. But it was a simple question: do they have a very good working space to effectively work? The answer was no. So I recommended him. That's where we need leaders now. So at some point, knowing where to invest in that is very, very important in many organizations. And the aim is to invest in things that can enable your staff to be productive. But again, I'm emphasizing so that bosses or leadership are not being stressed that, oh, they are not productive. No, they are just adapting to a new way of working that they are not used to, and you need to lead them. You don't need to manage them. Lead them to be able.
Jacob, do you feel that managers are actually owning this new approach to work? Are they themselves accepting it? Are they investing in it? Are they embracing it? Or is it something where they are telling themselves, oh, you guys better come back to work as soon as possible?
Unfortunately, this is a situation where it's out of the manager's purview on being able to work. It's a situation where we've been forced into this remote working. And it is going to be a norm moving forward. So now the good thing is, like, where I work, the managers have understood that, they have appreciated that, and now it's all about, as Genevieve said, rallying staff, supporting staff to make sure they deliver. I would normally, the first thing I advise my staff when we were moving remotely, it was, this is an opportunity to show management that you can be trusted to deliver, whether you're in the office or outside the office. So there's also an aspect of managers must start trusting that the staff do not need to be micromanaged. Assign them a task and let them do it, and they will get it done. But I insist again, as you said, empowering staff, giving them the tools, training them. That is the biggest key success factor you can have. Training and empowering them. Thank you.
Well, we're gradually pulling to the close of our conversation. I can already begin to say I've learned a lot of things. I hope you too. As we prepare to separate, Reverend, is there a last word you want to say to the worker who is at home, or to the employer who is expecting results at this phase?
Well, I want to say to the employer that I hope they heard Ujafni very well, because do not expect that COVID-19 would change a non-ICT country like our own so fast. It is a learning time now. We are hoping that in future, when we get to such a situation, we will be more prepared, better prepared than now. We are also hoping that the employers have heard that you have to give the tools to your staff. You cannot expect your staff to work without tools or to do things on their own. And I want to personally say that this conversation for me, it's a gateway, because Jacob, the expert, has told us a lot in his first intervention when he talked about how you plan this remote working. Was so much, thank you, Jacob, it was so much educative. But I want to say to you, Muta, is that I hope that this is also a gateway to our network, which is like your TV, because people need to see, to believe that it is possible. When Germany is teaching people, people don't believe. But you are on the media. I'm sure if people see the media doing this more and more, if people see government offices themselves using this tool, people would learn to adhere to such format. And we are always begging workers, be truthful to your leadership. Do not go home and keep the files down and collect the internet money and everything, and you don't work, and then you pretend that there was no internet, there was no light, there was not. I mean, workers should also have some integrity.
Well, thank you very much, Reverend Gustave Bai. Brian, I hope you joined us on time to pick up one or two tips from these professionals. Joybert, thanks a lot for your insight. Jacob, amazing having your input. I must say it is a learning curve. I know some colleagues who join Zoom meetings and keep their cameras or their videos off, whereas they're actually supposed to be seeing each other and having an interpersonal conversation. So there are things that depend on the workers, and lots of them complain as well as about having data and internet connection to sustain this volume of internet. So yes, there are challenges. I hope as we move forward that we all adapt and improve, and of course that we can obtain better results.